All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to, it's Monday, January 12th, and we're here at Public Works and Finance. To my right, you got Bryce Blankenship and Evan Holmes over here. We're going to dive into the regular agenda here, and have you guys had the opportunity to approval of last minutes? Yeah.
Go for it.
I didn't look at them.
Okay.
I wasn't part of the board, so I'll reserve comment.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Actually, yeah, we will approve those minutes moving forward. So number 2, here we have Sarah Decker. We're going to talk about the disbursement report for December 25. Hello, Sarah.
Hi. All right, so looking at the accounts payable report for month ending December 31st, 2025, major expenditures totaled $3,933,875.84. I have 4 major expenditures to point out. We had another payment towards the well 6 repairs for $172,419.29. A reimbursement for upsizing a water main as part of the Highway 95 Fountains Industrial Park Water Sewer Project for $79,737. We purchased our replacement body-worn and vehicle cameras for PD, and that was $397,146.90. And we made a payment towards the city shop project for $785,999.03.
Any comments from Bryce or Evan?
Yeah, I had something that doesn't look like this December disbursement included the ACH fee as I don't have a copy of it when I looked at it online.
We have our credit card ACH. Is there another?
The Wells Fargo ACH fee, was it in there?
It is for $39,664.73.
When I went through it, I didn't see it. I thought it was an odd thing to be missing.
Sure.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I think I am curious about the body worn camera. Can you just remind me of the overview of how we got there?
Sure. So the council approved that expenditure. So the body-worn cameras, body-worn vehicle cameras and tasers were all coming up at end of life.
Right.
And so the council authorized us to purchase that. So we did an RFP, and Axon was deemed to be the lowest responsive provider. Council authorized that payment. So we had a $200,000 refund from Whitcomb. So we discovered here last year that we had been paying the database fees for the 911 database that Whitcomb should have been paying underneath that contract. So we got reimbursed a little over $200,000 for that expense. And then we had $200,000 of general fund balance we held back from the end of the fiscal year for this purpose as well. We carried forward. So we had the $400,000 that was going to fund it, and the council authorized that purchase.
I remember that from last year. I just wanted to jog my memory a little bit.
Yep.
So I appreciate that. Thank you.
And I think all that stuff has arrived.
It's in, most all of it has arrived. I think they're working on the vehicle installations. So Axon will send out a crew to do all the in-vehicle camera installations at a particular time. I think it's hopefully by end of this month into middle of next, we'll have it up and operational.
Thank you.
No other questions? All right. We accept the disbursement part. Thank you, Sarah.
All right, thank you.
All right, moving on. Still have Sarah with us. Moving to number 3, first quarter financial report from October 25 to December 31st, 2025 for FY 26.
All right. So looking at our budget to actual, we typically try to be somewhere around 20 to 25% at this point, but it is early in the year. So for instance, we have some revenues that are currently down, our general fund and our streets fund, and that's due to our property tax revenue and then the highway user and road and bridge revenue that we receive. We haven't received that yet. Our property tax will be coming in January, and then as well as our part of our highway user. So we expect those to kind of catch up a little more between second and third quarter. Going through everything else is kind of on par for what it should be. We do have some transfers that are 100%, and that's because in October, if it's a small transfer or if it's to fleet or IS, we move that immediately for them to be able to go ahead and make purchases that they need. And the rest of them are on a 12-month basis. We transfer on a monthly. So it builds up. You're more at 50% around second quarter for those. And then we do have some expenditures that are down within salaries, and probably one of the most noticeable is sanitation, and that's due to the retirement of Tim Davis. And so we're looking at potentially refilling that position or doing something from within. So, and then for our capital projects, you're going to notice that those are down significantly at this point, and that's just because it's not construction season. And a lot of that is due to beginning and ending fund balance. So when we get to fourth quarter, actually, I'm planning starting second quarter to have fund balance included within these reports. So then you can see the percentage without it. But we have been doing that at fourth quarter for you to be able to see what the difference is. But that's why those revenues and expenditures are so shy right now. So overall, we're showing 11% or 11.6% revenue and 10.95% expenditures for first quarter.
And you said we'll get that property tax coming in late January along with
Mhm.
the other.
Correct. So second quarter, you'll see that pick up within the revenue side.
Yeah, property taxes are due in December and June, so we get those in two, depending upon what people pay, whether they pay the full year or half year, will come in December. So usually January and July.
Great. Thank you.
And you hit upon a question I did have, and you gave one of the possible answers I expected to receive. And I saw that stormwater, sanitation, fleet, sewer, parks and recs, and even general, the disbursements for salary and benefits were all under 25%. Do you think all of those is because of staff positions being less than hoped for, less being than projected?
I would say certainly, I mean, 20 to 21% were pretty much on par, but certainly in the ball fields, the person who is 75% assigned to that is no longer with the city. So that
Yes.
does have that. And I would say, yeah, so sewer, water, yes, we are down. We are still down officers. So that's general fund.
Yeah, my
yeah,
question
that
was,
would be it.
none of it is because we have delayed lump sum payments for
Correct.
workers'
It is
comp
not.
or
No.
for healthcare benefits. It's all because, so it indicates that we're short staffed. Well, some have built up staff in the summer, but some of them, it just shows we have vacant positions.
Correct.
Okay.
And we do our performance evaluations end of the year. So performance increases, which are up to 3%, then hit after January. So you won't see those in that first quarter.
Thank you for that. Any other comments, thoughts for action?
I move we approve.
And second,
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks, Sarah. All right, next for number 4 on our regular agenda, we're going to have Megan Cherry talking about Idaho Commission on the Arts Grant application for public programs in art. Welcome, Megan.
Thank you. Today I have the ICA, Idaho Commission on the Arts, Public Programs in the Arts Grant. This is an annual grant. It supports arts programming for nonprofit and government arts agencies across Idaho. This is something that we apply for every year, and so the request today is that you approve that, or that you recommend approval of our application for this grant program. Just a little background on how we would target the Palouse Plein Air event with the funds from this year. They tend to be about $5,000 or $6,000, which is approximately the cost to operate that program. And so that's the hope for this year. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
and I saw in the packet, this will be for 2027 programs. So are we funded then for the 2026 events?
Yes, that's right. I can't remember the exact award amount. It was right in the neighborhood of 5,000 for FY26. The way that their funding works, we usually end up getting the funds, around the end of the fiscal year. So we
late.
typically just use it in the following fiscal year.
So we're set for this year, and with this, we're looking at
That's exactly
2027.
right. Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Just two things. Megan, would you speak to the popularity of Plus Plein Air this year?
Yeah, we continue to set records with that event. I think we've kind of maxed out City Hall for paintings this last year, but, I think I might have to buy some more hooks for our hanging rods. It was pretty incredible. I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but it was in the 70s kind of thing. It was really incredible. So the community's been really loving it, and we have artists come from across the region to paint outside. That's what plein air means, is to paint outside. And then they paint for about a week and then come in, some of them with their painting still wet, and we hang them up in a really, really short time span, and then have a big party. And it's wild and really fun. So, yeah.
So that brings another question for me. When does our support through this grant for this program look like it's not enough?
Well, I think what we just try to, every year with the budget request, process that's starting up here in a little bit, I'm just trying to anticipate what those costs are, what we can pull back on, it's a program that we partner with the university. And so that's something that has been really helpful to, like, for example, the juror that we hire for every year, that, if we partner with the university on that and maybe it overlaps with their visiting artist program, that's some cost savings. And so, yeah, I'm always kind of watching what costs look like for the program and where we can pull back a little bit if needed. But at this point, we do have revenues coming in also from fees. This is one of our fee-based programs. And so artists are paying to participate as well. But it's been pretty popular, and the best news about it for this next year is that the show is going to be up for longer. It has been a shorter show, but we're going to have it up for about 6 weeks. So that's going to be pretty exciting for a lot of folks.
Awesome.
I recommend we put this on consent. Yep. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Megan.
All right. Next up we'll have C. Anderson and Scott Baumtrigger, and we'll have them up for our next 3 items. Starting with number 5, Transportation Alternative Programs, acronym TAP, with a grant application number 1. So,
And just Luke is joining me today
Luke.
rather than Scott for the first 2 we have. So today, before you, we have a grant application that we've applied for many times. It's the Transportation Alternatives Program. And just to kind of not use a lot of acronyms and give a background, it's the person that hosts, or the organization that hosts it for ITD, is the Local Highway Technical Assistance Council. And they are soliciting applications this year that will be funded in years 28, 29, and 30. And this is a transportation alternative program, so it's for non-motorized improvements, with the strategic goal of mobility, safety, and economic opportunity. So we're looking at projects, for some applicants it's off-road, but that's not normally what we do. So it is off-road, but not that way. Bicycle facilities, pedestrian facilities, and improving non-driver access to public transportation and enhance mobility, safety, and school projects. So this program also funds the Safe Routes to School program that is hosted through the University of Idaho through their rec department. So Luke will go through with you what our first project is today for Mountain View Road, and it is south of White Avenue. And just to give you a little update, we do have 2 prior TAP awards that will be constructed on Mountain View this coming summer. And so this application is to close up the gap so that we have mobility access from Highway 8 up around to Slonaker.
Awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, so this is the PowerPoint for the TAP for Mountain View south of White Avenue. So this is kind of this is an exhibit showing what we're planning on doing. So it's laid out where that top viewport. Let me see if this. Oh, that's not a pointer. Okay. So that top viewport is Troy Highways on the left, and then it progresses to White Avenue. Yep. Progresses to White Avenue. So on the bottom, you see a 10-foot shared use path. In the middle, in between sections C, that is there's going to be a little bit of a retaining wall right there just to minimize impacts. And then on the north side right there, it's shoulder notching, was essentially widening. The reason we're doing that is we want to fit our entire arterial typical section through there. So normal size lane and bike lanes in both direction. And then as you can see, it progresses through White Avenue and it ties in. So the bottom right is the tie-in with essentially what Elisa alluded to is the TAP grants that are going to be constructed this summer. So this is existing conditions, what it looks like on Mountain View. Not a lot of pedestrian facilities proposed. So this is shot from White Avenue, but this is essentially what would be on the east side of Mountain View from White to Highway 8.
So just a little bit of background. We've had a long-term plan for Paradise Path, and it kind of weaves its way from Mountain View Park and then kind of goes around Joseph Street Playfields and then comes out Heron's Hideout. So this would kind of pick up the path where Heron's Hideout comes out on the road. We've got to get across that bridge deck, but then expand the pathway then to the south. A portion of that path was constructed when the mini storage located on the, I guess it'd be the southeast corner of White and Mountain View was constructed. So you can see that was in one of the photographs that Luke showed. So a portion of that, just one more forward. Yeah, so right there, the bottom photograph shows a portion of that path that was constructed. So when the developer was building the mini storage there, rather than putting in the sidewalk, we had them put in an asphalt path because we had the long-term plan of extending this pathway. So if this project was funded, we'd be able to pick up, and we do have a little bit of a bottleneck there on the bridge deck, but then outside of that, we'd have that 10-foot pedestrian path all the way down to State Highway 8. The state ITD does intend to install a traffic signal at the intersection in 2028. So then that would give a protected signal controlled crossing for folks to access both Latah Trail and Paradise Path that is south of Highway 8.
And we're, just to interrupt, we're talking east side only with this.
Correct. Even with that, we are going to have to contribute another $250,000. So these maximum grant awards typically are $500,000. And so assuming that award, this project is looking like it's going to be about $750,000. We will probably work on we'll have everything but curb and walk on the west. That could be a future addition with a future either grant or city improvement project. But we did want to get bike lanes on both sides plus a separated path on the east that would then provide that continuity and connection to the Latah Trail and to Paradise Path.
So unlike some properties where that west side is within the right of way that's owned by the property owners, they're not required to create a sidewalk or pathway like.
So the west side is a combination of old pre-existing
Yeah.
path before we had those requirements. So you've got the Sunset Gardens Cemetery that exists, and then you have the Mountain View Villas, and then Cemetery Well, and then Les Schwab there. And so a lot of that development would happen to occurred prior to our requirements.
That explains
Yep.
it for me. Okay, thank you.
So if we were to be awarded this grant, we would find out sometime around June of next year. And it would be for design for 27 and construction for 28. So it's still a ways out, but that's kind of how the process works. So our proposed action today is authorize city staff to submit a 2026 Transportation Alternatives Grant application for $500,000 with the total project cost not to exceed $750,000. In normal circumstances, we're only required to put in 7.34% match, but we want to be able to complete as much of this project as we can. So the additional will be funded from the capital improvement plan.
Thank you for that information. Bryce or Evan?
I would just move that we accept that and we'll instruct her to continue.
All right, yeah, Bryce, yeah, we'll accept that and just put it on consent.
All right, thank you.
All right, number 6, same crew, different topic. 2026 Transportation Alternatives Program TAMP grant number 2 action item. So
Just a little bit of history on this one. When Safe Routes to School originally started, I think it was in 2008, 2009. I started working with Helen Brown on these projects a long time ago. She's since retired, but most of Cleveland, from B Street and all the way down past Lena Whitmore, has been funded through different names of the same program. And so with this application, we'll be finalizing that connection when Luke shows you that goes all the way down to 6th Street with these improvements.
Okay, so yes, this is a 6th Street Pathway project. So as Elisa talked about, there's been previous grant projects that essentially connect Cleveland, their sidewalk facilities from 5th Street or 6th Street all the way to the middle school. Yeah, the middle school. And then what this project would be doing is, so the 5th to 6th connection, that's a 5-foot existing sidewalk that's in really poor shape. So we're going to do that to 10 foot. And then at 6th Street, there's some bulb outs, which, reduces pedestrian crossing distance. And then we will also be placing an RRFB, which is one of those buttons that a pedestrian presses a button and then the sign lights up, and then sidewalk continuing down to 7th along the west side of Park.
Within this project area, we also have 3 fixed route bus stops. And so that will also enhance the safety for this. And we have an assisted living facility there within the project area too.
I think as Lisa mentioned, this is pretty heavily utilized corridor for kids getting to Lena and then over to the middle school. A lot of walkers, cyclists. It's pretty tight on a 5-foot sidewalk in pretty poor condition. So upsizing that pedestrian way and then improving safety at that crossing point on 6th Street is really the focus. And then everything to the south, all the Eastgate addition really has no sidewalks all the way to the fairgrounds. Long-term goal will be to continue to get a sidewalk all the way from the fairgrounds essentially to this crossing point to tie in this project in the future.
And probably no reason to ask, but I assume the existing right-of-way or easement is wide enough to accommodate that. We don't have to seek further.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, this is some existing condition pictures. So that's the path between 5th and 6th. It should be noted that no right-of-way is going to be required there. We have an existing easement to fit that 10-foot path through there. And then this is the 6th Street crossing where we'll be putting hardscaped bulb outs to reduce that and really bring attention to the crossing since so many kids use it. And then this is just essentially kind of where we're going to put sidewalk. This is up near the middle school. This is kind of what we have modeled for that crossing. And then this is existing versus proposed, what it will look like in the future.
So this project also continues to complement the 6th Street Bridge in Mountain View, which we just finished last year. So it's all blending together so that we have access all directions.
That's great.
So our action today is authorize city staff to submit a 2026 Transportation Alternatives Program grant application not to exceed $500,000. And on this one, we are proposing the 7.34 match. We do anticipate that the project will be under $500,000, The numbers are being finalized. So we would offer to put the required match up in addition to the grant award.
And construction year would be 2028?
Yes. I'll just add to that. We're asking for 2 projects in this. There's a lot of other people that will apply. We do this because this may be put onto a later construction year. Project number 1 is Mountain View. Project number 2 is the 6th Street improvements. So a lot of times they'll program out. So this could end up being, if we were awarded the second request, it would be probably put out for design in 27 and construction in 28.
Okay.
Just depends upon how many people apply.
And I have another comment. I would like to move we accept this, but I also would like it to be appear before the full council, just so that the public has an opportunity to know that those long needed improvements are being recognized and we're moving forward on them. I don't think it would, either one of us could go over it, or we could ask them to, but just so that it is more than just hidden in the consent agenda. I think this one would be important to
Put on record.
Yeah.
Let me put on record. So, Bryce, I'll give you a chance.
Yeah,
To so you're saying for number 2, are you wanting 1 and 2?
Well, we could do all 3 of them, because I'm going to do the same thing with the third one.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to have any of them on regular, staff will be here,
Yeah.
so we can do all 3. And we could do it combined. We wouldn't have to actually put them as 3 separate items. We could kind of, because we're going to describe the program once, and then go through the 3.
And mainly for the third, the changes, what we're doing in the construction year, and just show that, like you say, group them together and let the full council vote on it, let the public hear about it. Yep. All right,
That'd be
thanks.
great.
I'm on board with that. And
And I made a motion.
Yeah, I do have a curiosity question. Can you go back to a photo? I think it was of the long path going through. And this is just, back one. So top left, I'm curious, is there any outreach that happens to those homeowners on that path before construction? Just to say, hey, this is now happening. FYI, we'll be out here for however long we're out here. What kind of outreach takes place for homeowners when a project like this takes place?
It all kind of depends, but we'll go out there, knock on the door, talk to the landowner, kind of let them know what's going on. As part of this, I think, part of that fence is going to have to be removed and then replaced back. So they'll be aware the entire time it's
Sure.
construction. That's typically how we operate. We're pretty proactive when it comes to public
There
engagement.
used to be a dog behind that fence that would like to know when you're going to
Yeah.
turn it free.
And I think both of these, all the properties here are rentals. But city staff has a door hanger process. We go out, and it also has the environmental justice paragraph in it, so they can call the 8080 coordinator, which is me. If, we get calls, people don't want to not be able to get out of their driveway
Sure.
or something. And so both of the engineering techs in our office, when we're getting ready to do these projects, are aware of any requests people have for special assistance or accommodations. And, we get door hangers ahead of time. And also the LTAC staff, when they're doing the design, their team is out there letting people know the project is in place and moving forward.
Great. I appreciate that. Thanks.
Well, now you caused me, I had another question, but I was going to put it away for now. But do you anticipate, or in the plans, putting screening in for the building that we're now going to move a path closer to? Do you anticipate that property owner is going to want some sort of either vegetative or fence type of screening? Because we're going to be moving a lot closer to the bedrooms in that one
It's
structure.
going to be probably 2.5 feet on that side, to the west, but we will replace the fence. So
Well, I'm
so
thinking
anything
the other side now, because we're moving closer
on
to
Shorts.
Yeah, we're moving closer
Are
to
you saying the right side of the path?
on from what we're looking at
Oh,
up the
there.
left corner of that, because we're moving closer to that structure. Is that part of our design consideration?
Certainly we'll talk with the property owner. There's not an existing fence. So the one on the west we'll replace because there's an existing fence. So we'll put a new fence in to replace what is disturbed by the project. Given that there is no fence on that side and we have an existing easement, we probably wouldn't do anything. It'd be up to the owner if they wanted to add a fence or to do landscaping there.
Right, arborvitae or something. Okay, just a curiosity.
I mean, certainly we'll talk to them. If there's something within reason we can do in the project, we're happy to work with them.
Right, and then just one question, I'm sure it's buried in the packet, and it wasn't a question I had when reviewing. What is the size of the easement that through that area?
I believe it's a 10-foot
10.
easement through there.
Yeah, I don't think it could be more than that and still allow a side yard for that structure that's there on the east side.
Yeah, I mean, easements don't, easements can coexist with the side yard, so they're over the side yard area, but, yeah.
Yeah, well, we authorized to approve and put it on
Regular agenda. Good.
Or we'll be doing this. We'll lump something all together. So depending on how the next conversation goes. So just kidding.
We're Tuesday next week, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Thanks, Luke.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Luke.
All right, welcome up Scott Bontrager to talk about another TAP grant for Highway 95 underpass project modification.
So I'll just give a little background here while Scott's bringing up his slides. This is a project we started looking at back in 2018. A lot of study has been done to look at how this could work. And after working on it this many years, we have found that there's too much sedimentation in the creek bed at this point in time. And Scott will go over what that's all about. But the existing prior project is no longer feasible, and now we're proposing to do an above-ground safety improvement project.
Yeah, just to kind of touch on it again of what the current project is, the vicinity map here. Fortunately, I don't have a pointer, so I can't really point stuff out.
Is it not working?
It's just not working.
It's not a traditional, look, can I see the remote here, Scott? It's the top button. You just
Yeah.
push and hold. But it's not a traditional laser.
So the existing one right now is going to add improvements of sidewalk along underpass underneath the existing bridge here on 95, and then come back up to the pathway here. Whereas a little background on it, 2018, the feasibility study was conducted by city and the Moscow Urban Renewal Agency. The study included the conceptual design, hydrology, and cost estimates. And at the time, it was the focus on pedestrian bicycle safety, very similar to the underpass that's pictured here down at Highway 8. That was pretty much as that one was wrapping up as we were doing the study on the next one. Same thing, the underpass, the original underpass scope included those sidewalks going underneath, basically to bypass the 5-lane intersection there. It was going to be approximately 710 feet and 10 feet wide to go underneath, and included the removal of the old Highway 95 bridge. Original funding and schedule, the TAP grant application went out February 2020. Original estimate for everything was $1,073,000. Federal share portion of that to keep it under the million cap at the time was $994,000. The city match also at the time was $78,000, which the URA was going to fund 50% of it, with design plan for 2022 and construction in 2023. Post-COVID, there was delays that had happened during the time. Notice to proceed wasn't given out until April 2023. Since then, they have done lots of extensive survey and testing, hydraulic, a lot of environmental related stuff as they've been going through. And what they have found with the updated information since this was originally in 2020 when we had first estimated it, that the revised estimate went from that roughly 1 million to 1.7 million, of which the Urban Renewal Agency increased their contribution from the original about 40,000 up to 300,000 to try and help out with the escalating costs, which means the city match with the original scope was going to have to increase to about 480,000, which is about 440,000 above what it originally was. During this fall, they had gone out there to resurvey the entire creek bed, just checking the feasibility again for the hydraulic model, and have found that significant sediment buildup has happened in Paradise Creek over the past 5 years with the multiple large floods that we have had, they found that about 2 feet of sediment has actually been moved into the creek bed area above what was even at the time. And that was post previous flood, the 2019 flood. The minimum clearances are very hard to meet now without completely clearing out thousands of feet downstream. This would require a lot of environmental permitting and perpetual maintenance to be able to continue to keep the creek bed maintained. This is a picture that was taken this last fall, showing right now there's only about 6.5 feet-ish clearance underneath. A lot of material has been moved in. When they originally had kind of scoped this out, the gray dash line down here was kind of what they were seeing versus what they were going to need to remove to be able to put this retaining wall and pathway underneath the bridge. Whereas the green is more representing what has moved in sediment just over the past few years. And that continues all the way down, getting closer to even a College Street, about 1,000 feet downstream.
I hear a lot of clicking. I don't see much movement.
Lost the pointer here.
Lisa, could you hit it? Just advance from the keyboard.
Just hit forward and back on the arrows. I think we need to do batteries.
Oh, not that one.
Sorry about that. I can't see off the glare. I apologize.
Oh, no.
I'm just the right height not to be able to see. Okay, which one do I hit?
Just forward and back, these two
Okay, I
guys.
thought it was the enter. Okay.
So currently, after kind of discussing this through, especially with the design engineer, the original underpass scope was deemed currently infeasible based upon current conditions with everything moving in and feeling comfortable to be actually provide hydraulic model. That wasn't going to make this just a constant perpetual issue and flooding with the underpass unless we were able to actually fully remove that sediment thousands of feet down. So this discussion or this decision has been discussed with LTAC, ITD, and some other agencies about looking at revising the scope. Click the next one, Lisa. So LTAC had approached FHWA, who is the one that regulates on what the scope can be in this general vicinity based upon what had been approved for the funding type and the environmental that's already been conducted. They approved looking at modifying the scope to something else as long as in the same area. We're looking at still including the removal of the old Highway 95 bridge, but instead adding sidewalk, pedestrian ramps and everything along the west side of US 95 and the south side of State Highway 8 west of US 95 to make the connection going back up towards Christ Seed on the south side of Highway 8. And then adding a west crossing across US 95 and State Highway 8 there where there currently isn't a pedestrian crossing. So this is one of the displays that we had used when we were talking with the various agencies about some of the scope changes. The red was the original underpass scope of taking the pathway and going up underneath, whereas the green now is more of the focus of some of the areas we're looking at doing widened sidewalk, enhancing the crossings, maybe being able to make a better connection to the pathway down there off of Sweet Avenue. Just investigating some different types of things we can do with more surface related improvements. The revisions that we're looking at is focusing on above ground pedestrian safety, improving connectivity, both at the intersection and along the sidewalk pathways. The revised total project cost, at least what we're seeing so far, instead of the 1.7 puts it back down at 1.3, which is still within the current funding that we have with federal, URA, and city dollars. So the city wouldn't have to contribute any more than a current match that we already have budgeted for this project. So staff's recommendation is to authorize city staff to modify the scope of the project and complete the design utilizing the current remaining design funds that we have in the state local agreement, or provide staff further direction.
Thanks, Scott.
And they did combine 2 awards to make up to get to the 1 million for this project. So.
Yeah, so this had 2 TAP awards back then.
All right.
So I have a question. I guess it would go to Bill, if not you. The approximate city funding for that was from the 2023 budget year, and was that funneled into the capital? But is that money sitting there?
So the updated match, the most current cost, I mean, I'm not sure if it's reflective. I'd have to go back and look at the capital projects budget for this current fiscal year, but I think we had,
Somebody had it.
yeah, so we only had 83,000 shown as local match. So that should be what's included in the budget on the city side, would be the 83,300 from the agency and the remaining 994 from the TAP grant awards.
And that's still enough because you revised it for the 1.7 million change a few years ago then. So we're
That's right.
okay.
This is still the 1,378, which is what we
Yeah.
thought the underpass was going to be prior to the most recent cost estimate that pushed it
Yeah.
to 1.7. The project's now back to the estimate that we had previously.
So the money we have already allocated for the match is enough.
Correct,
That's what I was
correct.
getting at. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those unfortunate situations. Our hope was to be able to accomplish another pedestrian underpass. Right now, it does not look like that's feasible, or it's going to be underwater 75% of the year. So probably does not appear to be prudent to do that at this time, because it is a pedestrian bicycle related grant. In this vicinity, we have to look at other pedestrian enhancements and improvements that could be achieved. And we are lacking sidewalk on that other side. And there are some desires to get that West Lake pedestrian crossing at the south couplet and connect sidewalks in an area. And that seems to be the most viable use of the grant funding. Traditionally, the alternatives are if we decide not to pursue typically any design expense that's been incurred so far, the city would may likely have to reimburse LTAC for that.
Yeah.
I think there's about 200,000 at this date.
About 200,000 right now, but 330 will be total.
The total. So I think we've incurred about 200,000 expense. If we decided that, hey, we're just going to pull out of the project and release the grant awards entirely, that's likely what we would have to end up refunding LTAC, and then we walk away with 200,000 without anything. Or we can continue the project, get some pedestrian improvements and enhancements in the area at our match requirement of about the 83,000. So we do think that's the best path forward this time.
Only other warning that LTAC had given us too is if we do back out of a project, it does look negative on any future projects we apply for.
Is there any presumed permission from IDT to allow the pedestrian crosswalk, or do we have to apply to do that? And if we're applying, would we also consider, at the far north side, crossing from the credit union to
So there is a crossing on the north. So currently the crossings are on the north and on the east.
okay.
We don't have one on the south, and there is not a crossing on the west.
And this would do one on the west.
Add one on the west.
Okay, and so that's, the permission is presumed there already, all right.
We've started discussions with them already, and then tomorrow we're also talking with ITD for their planned signal upgrade project to see if we
Right.
can try and coordinate these
At the same time.
Yeah.
So and now I'm going to throw this out because people have asked me about it, any possibility of doing a underpass, bicycle tunnel farther up towards Sweet Avenue and ignoring the creek altogether?
The only way we were going to be able to afford this is we were going to be utilizing the bridge structure.
That was the
Yeah.
intent
And so
before.
to actually construct a new tunnel independent of the bridge structure would be multi-millions of dollars. And we don't really have the space, especially on the east side of the highway, to get an entry and the ramp to do that crossing. Yeah, I think that would be cost prohibitive and certainly not within anywhere near the grant award that we currently have. I think you'd take that 1.7 and probably make it 3.5 to 4.
Yeah, and save that sentence so that on the council meeting that we can address the public that wants to know if we can have any sort of tunnel, because bicyclists want that. They don't.
Oh,
that's the
yeah,
big-
no, we wanted it. I mean, we we intentionally, after completing the Steiner White, we did the feasibility study, looking at this as that next opportunity to separate the pedestrian and bicycle traffic from the roadway.
Yeah.
It really is something that we wanted to accomplish, but with kind of the restoration work that the U of I did on that section of the creek, I think you'd have to kind of get a Colfax-like channel through there to try to make sure that it wasn't going to sediment back up and that wasn't going to end up underwater. So certainly this is not news that we wanted to hear on the project. We were all committed to trying to get the underpass complete. Now we're just trying to find how can we best utilize the grant award, maintain our goodwill with LTAC, and get other enhancements and improvements in that area with the funding that's available.
And would part of that be done this year, the pedestrian parts, or none of it?
So they would require that we have it basically ready or designed, done and ready by June, July. So that would be bid this next fall, constructed next summer.
Yeah, even the pedestrian parts, all has to
It's all
happen
part of the same thing,
happen
yeah.
at the same time.
And
All right.
that's good timing to get people queued up for things. That's great.
And this type of scope was really the only thing we could do under the existing application too, so.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I think as someone who likes to loves our pathway and our systems, something that I think lots of people were looking forward to, but just in the reality of how things have shifted, a lot of things out of our control, and to previous points, to stay in good eyes with future opportunities and to take advantage of something we have where we're not getting something for nothing. This seems very appropriate. It's unfortunate, but appropriate. And I think that's nothing that from a staff or anyone from any agency is neglected. It's just what's happened.
Yep.
So, I move. If there's not any other,
Can we go back to the photo right before this that has kind of the rough mock-up for what's, yep, that one. So, Scott, I was happy to hear that you do and are in conversations with Idaho ITD, because I would envision am I reading this correctly with the red line being that proposed new path there?
The red line is the one that would have been the underpass.
The
So that's-
underpass.
yeah.
Great. Okay. And so exploring where that new crossing will take place. Okay, great. My brain was just shifting to say that seems a little too close to that intersection to have a lot of non-vehicular traffic going through. So I was just wanting to clarify that. But I'm happy you're in conversations with who you need to be in conversations with. And yeah, given the circumstances, echoing some of Drew's sentiments. So
And this does propose also that we remove the bridge.
the existing bridge.
Yes.
Sell the bridge. Maybe someone wants it.
It's
I
getting
don't
pretty
know that it would
poor
come out
shape
in
right
one
now.
piece.
Fundraiser.
Okay. I have no other questions.
You have another question?
No.
No question. I move we accept it and
Accept
move
it,
it on
put
to
it on
the-
regular agenda.
Regular agenda.
Yep.
Great.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I don't think there's bills or anything.
That's it.
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.